what you're going to realize is happening is that AI is getting in the business of entity recognition.
There's a certain baseline of competency that someone has to have.
The things they're doing, if you look at the robots they have, it's pretty shocking how far they've gotten at this point already. Whatever organic reach you've ever had is getting choked to death right now.
Welcome to Keep Hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling, where we are going past the why to get to the how. I'm your host, the always hustling Aaron Gordon, aka NY Risk Advisor, aka Mr. Keep Hustling. In this podcast, we will be diving deep into the professional and personal successes of our guests to find out how they hustled through the most difficult times in their life and their development to achieve the success they've gotten to today. So buckle up for what hopes to be an amazing ride. And of course, now and always, keep hustling. Welcome to Keep Hustling with my guest, Kyle Bailey. Kyle, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Aaron.
There are a few towns, a few cities that I love in the United States outside of New York, which stands far above the rest. Austin, Texas is one of them.
Nice.
So thank you for allowing me to, Austin's on there. I spent a great, one of my friends had a conference there. It was one of the best 3 days. We had a lot of fun. This might actually surprise you. I'm from New York City. Obviously I'm one with the city, the subways and everything like that, and everything that comes with being born during the David Dinkins era, raised in the Giuliani era, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But never in my life had I seen two homeless people straight out go at it and try to kill each other.
Oh,
with
wow.
bare hands. And that happened in Austin, Texas. And it was awesome. And I'll be honest, my mother told me not to stare, but I did. And it was great. So that's what that's the introduction I have today. I want to jump right in. Again, thank you for being here.
Sure.
Your career began, I'm going to read from your bio. I have a special place in my heart for the trades because I grew up in them. I used to be a lumberjack and a framer. We don't run into a lot of lumberjacks and framers, especially lumberjacks here in New York. Now that I'm in I'm the home service business hammer. And we'll get into what you're doing now. Lumberjack to business owner. Yeah, you're nodding. Just go. Take us there. Go.
Yeah. So
your story, go.
Yeah. So when I was growing up as a kid, I started working with my dad in remodeling at a very young age, probably about 9 or 10. I was going out on jobs with him. And by the time I was 12 or 13, I remember I didn't think anything about it, but he would bring guys in to train them, and I would train them on how to sand cabinets and how to do different things because I had been at it for a long time. And I mean, I've crawled under houses and done plumbing and, jacked up houses for like pier and beam foundation repair. I've been in attics when it's 160 degrees here in Texas. I've done just about everything there is to do: roofing, siding, windows, kitchens, plumbing, HVAC, the whole 9 yards. And so then in the mid 90s, I got this great opportunity to work with this guy clearing land. And I mean, I really love doing it. You can't make any money doing it, not as a worker, but I really love doing it. Just get out there with a chainsaw all day long. I had a chainsaw in my hand from, 7 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night, and then come in and clean all the saws at the end of the night. So really, really loved doing that. And then fast forward into did some landscaping after that. And then in 2000, I was in different roles and different sales roles around the trades as well. And then in 2009, right after the housing collapse, I really had never really picked one thing for my career. And I was like, I need to pick one thing that I can do the rest of my life. My back is pretty much shot from being in the trades. And so I said, I just total God thing came upon the world of online marketing. And I was having a conversation with my a good friend of mine, and he was about to build a house, and he was needing to build a fence. And I told him, I said, here's 7 things I can do for you that'll save you a lot of money building your fence. He said, a lot of people would pay really good money to know that. And I said, what am I supposed to do? Like go door to door and go, hey, you want to buy some information on how to build a fence? And that's when he started telling me how websites and clicks and getting found on Google and all this stuff works.
You're
And
like,
man,
I'm just a dude with a chainsaw.
right, right, right. Well, at that point, I was with a guy with a hammer. But regardless, it just the light went on, and I was insatiable. I could not get enough information on online marketing. And about a year later, I started doing some work for some people, and then ended up opening up my own agency in 2010 because I kept coming across problems that people weren't solving in the digital marketing world. And so yeah, started in 2010, and so in August it'll be 16 years. So I'm celebrating 15 years right now.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So that you were through the housing crisis in
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah.
Then you got into the internet thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is one singular question that I can ask Kyle Bailey, that he from Austin, Texas, that he will have the world's most unique and actually probably correct perspective on.
Okay.
And that is the following.
This is how to load a question. Anybody out there, if you're listening, this is how you load a question right here.
It's loaded, but it's true. Let me just, you know what? I read the first part, a sentence from your bio. I'm gonna load the question even more with the following sentence,
Okay.
because the contrast is just amazing. Core value propositions, core problem solves, ideal client profile. Then the content and conversion asset they need are my main area of focus: social media, SEO, content, AI. It all follows from that foundational process.
Mm.
So I have a guy who I'm talking to right now, loyal listeners, who started as a lumberjack and framer. Housing crisis wasn't a great situation. Now he decides social media, SEO, content, and now he's doing the AI thing. And everybody says that AI is going to replace our jobs, except I believe, and I say this humbly but true, except for the most important trades. So the question, now, is it loaded enough yet?
I don't know.
in the chamber.
I don't know.
You're ready.
When I think it can't be any more loaded, you load it some more. It's great. Love it.
The question is, talk to me about AI, trades, digital. Where's the future? If you were starting all over right now, which one would you focus on? Why and how?
Well, you have to build the foundation first. So the thing about AI that most, I would say, all tradespeople are missing, and I always say it's like the Death Star in Star Wars when it's coming around that planet and they see it for the first time. They go, "Oh, it's a new moon." Then the guy's like, "That's no moon." We're in that same situation. If you are just waking up to it, then what you're going to realize is happening is that AI is getting in the business of entity recognition. Okay. So if you are a remodeling company that specializes in kitchen remodeling and bathroom remodeling and room additions, for instance, then you have to be discoverable as that. So if you have Bob's Remodeling Company, but then you're listed on Google Business Profile as a construction company, I just published a video about this. Your primary business category is construction company. Then everywhere else you're listed as handyman. Then somewhere else you have your old business name with your current address. Then in another place you have your current business name with a different address or a different phone number. These are things that cause confusion, and your entity is not clear, concise, and understandable. Now, the other problem is everybody's been Google specific, Google intent for about 20 years now. And now we're in the world that if you're not optimized and exposed on these other platforms like Yelp, even Foursquare, if you remember Foursquare at all, believe it or not, AI is referencing Foursquare. But like Yelp, Houzz, Angie's List, Thumbtack, these are all platforms that AI is referencing. Better Business Bureau, Chambers of Commerce, these are all becoming really vital. Where they were just also rans, they're becoming vital in the pantheon of lyrics, of links and references that you have to have in the age of AI, because AI is building a profile. If you think of like a profile builder from like an FBI profile analyst, I'm not thinking of the right word, but it's the people who go out and hunt for serial killers, and they build a profile on this person. They can tell you this is a 35-year-old white male and he likes cereal on Thursdays and stuff like that. That's what AI is doing for your business. Only you're not telling them anything. That's the problem. This is a massive problem because, and here's the thing, Google is now changing what they have always done historically. Historically, they've had an algorithm that these robots that would go out and crawl your site and look for these different things and then return you on the maps, right? Well, now that's changing. Google is now experimenting with removing the 3-pack that's been there for 15 years. Google is experimenting with removing that and returning an AI return. And that AI return is going to come directly from what AI can ascertain about your business out in the world, out in the digital world. And if you're not prepared, you will not get returned. And so it's coming. It's going to be a massive change. And I don't think anybody's ready for it. I don't think any tradespeople are ready for it.
There are those that say that no business is actually ready for it. And therefore, I don't believe that AI might be able to be utilized at a certain point, but I don't believe that AI will actually ever be able to fully frame a house. I don't believe it. I don't believe that robots and AI will ever actually be. And by the way, when you get into complex electrical issues or HVAC issues or plumbing issues or even low voltage issues, all things like that. And so the irony, I think, in the perspective is that the people who everybody said were the least technologically advanced are actually somewhat the safest in the
True.
age of technology and AI. And I believe in every business,
Mm-hmm.
the bottom 10 or 20% is going to be replaced by a computer or AI.
In a lot of places, that's already happening.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure.
And it is true that probably you could put some robots on a construction site and they can run some wire, pull it somewhere. But ultimately, when it comes to the actual detail trade or the programming of that trade or the finishing work or the fine finishing work,
Mm-hmm.
the cream, as they say, will rise to the top. And I actually think that the safest bet is the master tradesman.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on the execution side. That's going to be the last frontier take, if it ever is. The stuff they're doing, Boston Dynamics and Elon over there at Tesla, right down here in a factory down the road from me. The things they're doing, if you look at the robots they have, it's pretty shocking how far they've gotten at this point already. I didn't think they would have humanoids that can do what they can do this fast, but at what point is a homeowner going to be okay with a robot walking into their house and doing something? That's one thing. Then you have the capability side, like you're talking about, testing, crawling into an attic on their belly, getting over, a secondarily furred attic and climbing into that second section to get over to this wire. I don't know how long it's going to be till that can happen. But in a bigger sense, in the lead generation world, which is where I live, that for that lifeline for those businesses to thrive and succeed, that's what I'm targeting. That's going to affect them long before the actual work does. And let me tell you something, man. If you're out there and you're dependent on your organic leads that you've always depended on, that's about to go away. Google has been choking down on that for a while, and that's going to be the first effect they feel.
But do you? I rarely push back at the guests, but I'm
That's all right.
having a little bit of
Please
fun
do.
here.
Please do.
But my thing is, I believe that there is going to be a certain amount of time, and I don't know how much,
Mhm.
where it's still going to take time for people to have faith in a certain robot's suggestions. Again, I believe that
Give me an
having
example.
AI, I believe that having AI give me a car wash, easy, right? A robot, no problem.
Sure.
But if God forbid I need an attorney
Mhm.
or a doctor because I need a certain a person I know or I love needs a certain procedure, SEO is great, but human referrals is even better. And so I think that at a certain point, there has to be a level of human touch and humanity in the businesses where SEO is important to get in front of people, but almost like the anti-SEO or the counter SEO is also somewhat valuable because I'm the person who's here, I'm the person who's local. And
Sure.
that's where I think the trades thrive, because you could do all the SEO you want.
Mm.
But if you're a plumber that's 4 hours away from me, even though you tell me you'll be there in the morning, I'm still going to call the guy who's down the road.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
maybe who I know, who I've had before, my brother used, my sister used, and things like that. So I think that there's a delicate balance there
Mm.
when people talk about hustling or what they're focusing on or where they want to lead to. That
Sure.
at a certain point, if you're not going to master the technology, the AI, and the machine learning as it's evolving,
Mhm.
I feel like there's some value in stepping back and
Mm.
saying, I'm going to be super focused and dedicated on my hands and what I can do in the trades,
Sure.
and put the blinders onto all that, because this is something that I can master and that's something that I can't. Now, by the way, I do agree, and I've heard, and I think Elon Musk said this and others, that was it Elon who said it, or maybe Jeff Bezos, that more billionaires will be created in their basements with AI. Maybe Mark Cuban. I forgot who said it, in the next 20 years than they come out of Harvard. But
Mm.
I think that there's got to be value in those trades and in helping those who serve the community.
Sure. So as far as turning a wrench, I totally agree with you. My question is, how are they getting that job to that house and turning the wrench in the first place? Because homeowners are never the age of a homeowner calling their friend down the street, like physically calling them, or going down the street and knocking on their door and saying, "Hey, do you know a plumber that you recommend?" That age is dead and buried. The closest thing you get to that now is forums. So you'll have neighborhood forums, like groups on Facebook. I'm a member of like 1,000 of these things, and they'll be like, I live in a place called Parkside in the North Austin area, and there's a Parkside Facebook group. People will say, "Hey, do you have a plumber you can recommend?" That's as close as you can get to that. But I promise you, the vetting process still happens. So if somebody recommends Joe's Plumber, and that person goes online and can't find anything about Joe's Plumber, or they got a website that looks like it's rolled straight out of 2005, like I've run into a few of those lately, or the reviews are bad, Joe's not getting that call.
So that's the leverage. Meaning that's the exponent in that.
You mean their
My
placement? Like
my
their
father
online
used
help?
to say, my father's recipes used to say that, and this is not a knock on doctors or physicians, but most physicians are terrible business people. But the physicians that are good business people or have a good business acumen far outperform every other.
Sure. You're exactly right.
Because there's just a certain level of success there. So
Yeah.
similar, I think what you're saying is, and for all those tradespeople that are listening, similar. It's similar in the trades where there's a certain baseline of competency that someone has to have. But if you have the right SEO, lead gen, connections after that,
Mm-hmm.
your delta, your multiple will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9
100
times the return, 100 times the return.
Oh yeah, easily 100.
For the same skill, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
And
but
yet
now you've got to.
most of those people don't focus on it. They say, I'm too busy, or I don't want to say simple minded, because that's a bad term, but you know what I mean, to see that value.
Well, and how I would expand on that is to say that there's a second generation of that. The second generation of that, the first generation was, I'm too busy, I've got the real world. That was like 2010. I don't need this SEO stuff. Now you've got the second generation of that. My website's fine. I've got good SEO. We get good organic leads on the website. I don't need this AI stuff. That's the second generation version of the same thing. And that's a head in the sand type thing, because they do not understand how things are going to change. It's not like you're going to have Google as Google has always been, and now you just add AI to it, and then you have the choice of whether to add AI or not. That's not the case. Google is using AI to completely restructure how search is done. So whatever organic reach you've ever had is getting choked to death right now.
So if you were starting over pre-lumberjack days, what would you do, and how would you define and create your hustle to maximize your outcome?
Do you mean me as a marketer, or do you mean if I
Your
was
whole
in the trade?
experience. Your whole experience. You're starting over. I'm thinking back 20 years. You could
Now we have to
can
bring in a whole different thing. So
you,
now this is
right,
a whole
but
different thing.
you could. That's why I'm asking. You could
Sure.
can the trade thing and start out as a marketer. You could can the
Yeah.
marketing thing and stay in the trades.
Yeah.
You could start as a marketer, switch to the trades, which you didn't do, which is the opposite of what you did.
Right.
I'm asking you to rewrite the script with everything you know, and hindsight being 2020.
I would if I could go back and talk to my 25-year-old self,
22.
22,
25 is too old. Too old, yeah. 22. You
25 is when
already
I
in it at
was
25.
starting to swing a chainsaw. So
Right.
that's
So
when I was going
you
there.
already thought about getting into it. I want to know. Let's start
I
before
didn't
that.
really think about anything.
Okay, fine.
Just did it.
25 it is. You're right. You're right. It was a dark time in college. I got you. Or a
Just
fun
whatever
time.
came up was like, that sounds like fun. I'll make 12s of dollars doing that.
All right, 25. You win.
Anyway, okay, so this goes a lot deeper on the personal side, but so I would tell my 25-year-old self, believe in your talent, the talents that you have, believe that when you see something, it actually has value, because that goes into like father son stuff. Because my dad he had low self-esteem. He was always the smartest guy in the room, but he never believed it. He never understood that. And so because of that, he transferred that to me. So I thought I didn't think I had any smarts to bring to the table. But I would have these observations. I remember sitting in a truck with 3 other trades guys, and we're driving down the road, and I said, the measure of a community is in the level of their Walmart. And they just busted out laughing at me. And I thought, well, I must be really stupid. I thought that was a good observation, but they think that's really stupid. And they laughed at me for months about that. They would bring it up, and I laughed along with them. I'm not picking on them, but my point in saying that is that the observation I made was exactly correct, 100%. But it took me another 15 years to begin to apply that kind of thinking to my actual life. But if I had started that when I was 25, I could have started making differences for businesses much earlier in my life than I did. And it was because I didn't believe in myself and in the observations that I had. And it took me a
But
long
you didn't
time.
answer the question. Would you have stayed in the trades? Would you have started in the trades?
So one thing you have to factor in is in 95, there wasn't really an internet. So would I have made a complete jump over into advertising? I don't know that I could have made that jump, because back then you had to have a master's degree in advertising to go into that field.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
So I didn't have the tools to make that jump at 25, but I probably would have said, go learn inside sales for like a high-end remodeling company, and learn the high-end side of remodeling, because then you're going to work for people. You're going to work for people who value high end, and that's a different mode of thinking. And once you learn to satisfy a need and solve a problem for rich people, your whole life changes, because now you're in high margin. Everything you do is high margin. You're going to make more money per sale. You might not make as many sales, but you're going to make more money per sale, and you're going to make relationships that stick around, because those kind of people, the way they think is not, this guy can do it for $12. This guy over here can do it for $11.95. I'm going to go with the $11.95 guy. They're going to go, not even $12. I want the guy who does it for 15 and puts these finishing touches on it. So it's a different mode of thinking. And it took me a long time to understand that. So I probably would have said go into sales on that side, because if I'm solving a problem for those kind of people, it's the same motor that you go into with business. Because it took me a while to learn, after I started my agency, the language that's coming towards me. If I'm hearing, yeah, but my buddy that graduated high school a few weeks ago, his kid graduated high school and he can build me a website. Once I hear that, I'm out. I'm like, you should go do that. That's what you should go do. Because that kid doesn't know anything. He can build a website, sure, but he does not understand conversion. And if that's what you're seeking with your dollars, you're buying a different thing than I'm selling. You're buying the cheapest thing possible. You're buying the $2 tire that's going to go flat on you 5 miles down the road. I'm selling you the car. You're selling,
100%.
yeah.
But I
So
also love the fact that that part of your whole pitch or understanding or drive is realizing that it couldn't have been done differently. And I assumed you were going to say what you said, which is keep hustling is about evolving. And the person
yes,
who at the time was X number of years old, was 25 years old, and it was 1995 and there was no internet, could never have dreamed of being a SEO AI expert
yes,
in 2026.
you're exactly right.
Yet that same person had the drive to learn and understand and be the best lumberjack framer,
Mm-hmm.
then pivoted that to the next part of the career. And I think that a lot of what I've said this very often, and even more often recently in these episodes, is that what I've learned from keep hustling and meeting amazing people like yourself is that so often the successful people understood what pivot and evolution was at a young age,
Mhm.
earlier on. And even if they
Yeah.
didn't make that pivot, they were able to identify that they should be pivoting or could pivot or might want to pivot or whatever, and kept that in the back of their mind, or the side of their mind, as the goal going forward, even though at the time it could have been because practical reasons the internet wasn't there, or that wasn't the next evolution, or financially they couldn't do it. But they didn't wait till the
Mhm.
very end, till the time of desperation to do it. And that to me is something super important and super insightful about the evolution of people. And I think that the contrast in how you started your career and where you are now is great evidence to that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, so kinda going along the lines of what you're saying, I kinda have 3, uh, quotes that roll around in my mind right now that I go by. 1 is mine and 2 are by Alex Hormozy. You
Okay,
know
hold
who.
on 1 second. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna leave me yours. Leave me yours.
Okay.
Because I want to
Well,
say that for the end, I think. All right? I think I'm going to say that for the end. Or we're going to say for the end? Or we have a different one for the end?
I'll save 1 till the end. How's that? I'll
Fine,
use
go for it.
2
So give us
now.
the first two. Go for it.
All right, and then I'll try to use your method of loading the question. I don't know if I can do it as good as you did.
All right.
No, but, like, 1 is this is so I grew up with a lot of shame, and people that grow up with shame have outsized reactions to failures. So when we have shame and shame is operating in our mind, then the way we behave when we fail is this big emotional reaction. When in reality, I think of it as like having a flat tire on the side of the highway. I can get out of my car and rage at the tire. I can rage at the car. I can rage at the cause of the flat tire. I can rage at whoever was irresponsible enough to leave the nail in the driveway. Right? I still have a flat tire on the side of the highway. Now, what if I take a different mindset? I get out of the car. I evaluate where I'm at. I think about the cause. Briefly think about maybe is there something I could have done different that would have kept me from having this flat tire? But then every other ounce of energy goes towards solving the problem and just recognize and have an empathy for myself and where I'm at. This is where I'm at, and it's not only a problem; it's an opportunity. Every problem is an opportunity till you die. Every problem. And now, here's my first quote, and I'm going to save the last one. The second quote. So the first getting turned around. So the first quote is you can't grow without being wrong. Now getting okay with being wrong. That's the work.
I love
Okay.
that.
Now the second quote, that's mine. Alex Hormozy says, you don't fail until you quit.
That's keep hustling. That
Yes.
is keep hustling.
Yes. I knew you'd like that. I knew you'd
The
like that.
moment,
As soon as I saw
and
the
I
name
love
of it.
Alex Hormozy, and I've heard that one before, but it's the truth is that,
Yeah.
and what I've learned is, and I've said this more times than I care to admit in the course of this podcast, that I've gotten a lot of hate on the hustle culture, and I don't believe in traditional hustle culture. And keep hustling is
Mm.
not about the hustle culture. Keep hustling
Yeah.
is saying,
Don't quit.
I want everybody who's driven, who
Mm.
wants to not fail. And what is fail?
Mm.
When you quit. And
Yeah.
until you quit, if you keep hustling, it doesn't bother. You could pivot. You could have 12 different careers. You could have 50 different. And the greatest example is the startup world. Nobody remembers the failures. Nobody knows how many terrible business ideas Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk has. Nobody.
Yeah.
We only know about the one or two that succeeded, and that's all that mattered.
Yeah.
And if you keep hustling through that and you don't quit, then that is the definition of success and the opposite of failure.
Yeah. Don't define your current state by somebody's end state. Don't define where you are in your entrepreneurial or whatever journey that you're building. You could be writing a book, whatever it is, but you don't define you don't define your position comparing to Stephen King's position. You know, you're not going to have written your first book until you finish your first book.
I
And
love that.
so you learn and you win some, you learn some. My buddy Stan Tyler says this all the time. You win some, you learn some. And if, again, take the shame out of it. Shame doesn't do anything for you. Not a single thing.
Shame, regret, none of that. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, you loaded this up. You really loaded this up.
All right.
All right, you know the close. As you know, Kyle Bailey, we have a closing tradition on this podcast. We ask our guests to leave us with their favorite motivational or inspirational quote. And with that, I'm going to say thank you again for being here, and the floor is yours.
Okay, so building on what we talked about before, this is an Alex Hormozy quote. And if you know anything about Alex Hormozy, you really should, anybody listen to this, you should go look at his story, not just at his most recent podcast or anything like that. But the guy was completely broke. Then he started a thing, and then that thing started to have some success, and then got all of his money pulled out of the bank. Then he went and hit it again, built some more success, and then the credit card company withheld $100,000, which was
Yep,
all
he's got a
owed.
great story.
It's a great story. And then he just kept figuring out what next step he could take. But this is my favorite quote. I think about it all the time. I probably quote it every podcast that I'm on. But here's the idea. The work works on you more than you work on the work. The work works on you more than you work on the work. And that means, the definition of this is that what you're trying to do is requiring of you that you look at yourself, examine yourself, have empathy for yourself, but then ask what needs to change. What is the next step I need to take personally, professionally, business-wise, that needs to take this next step? The work works on you more than you work on the work.
Absolutely love that. I got nothing else to say other than thank you.
Absolutely.
This has been another episode of Keep Hustling. Remember, do well by doing good, and of course, and always keep hustling. All right, hustlers, that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you have any suggestions, comments, or even just want to say hello, please feel free to reach out to us on all social media platforms. We are Keep Hustling Pod. Until next time, stay curious, stay hungry, and keep hustling.